But there are, as you know, I mean, there are people who do give rise to religion who are not, to the rest of us, are not particularly interesting people. So, yeah.
What do you think of Burton Mack's argument in a couple of his books that scholars should give up the idea of the resurrection, whatever it was, as the big bang that started Christianity? And he said, and perhaps there were all sorts of Christian and Jesus communities, some of whom found it in their interest to use resurrection imagery, others didn't, and that we've been naive in assuming that, oh yeah, it all started with that explosion of those visions, whatever they were.
Sure. Yeah, well, but, you know, Burt Mack was obviously a very brilliant scholar. Still may be. I don't know if he's still active or alive even. I don't know either, yeah. So...
his tomb was found empty.
His tomb was empty, yeah, right, yeah. He actually wasn't that good. He was good, he wasn't that good. I used to be open to that idea, but I don't really buy it anymore. So in my book, How Jesus Became God, I actually argue that it was the resurrection that really mattered. That, you know, if you have, I mean, suppose you do have this group of people up in Galilee who really appreciate things like the Sermon on the Mount or something, you know, and they're this like alternative group. I don't see how you get Christianity out of that. I mean, basically, you've got a Jewish teacher who's saying some, you know, some interesting things, but without a resurrection. So I think without the resurrection, you don't have what would start Christianity.
I think that's correct also, but the way I imagine it is that those types of Christianity, like what Max says is the Q community, because of what you've just said, they perished. Because there was no, like Jewish Christianity did later on, they just had no more market share. They were too Jewish for Gentiles and vice versa. Yeah. But that it's still possible that there were, and that's all, I mean, it's speculation any way you cut it, but if there's reason enough to think that Q implies a Zitzim Laban of a non-death and resurrection Christology, they could have existed, because any way you cut it, Constantine and the gang pretty much squashed all the other early Christianities. I wonder if that happened before without even any intervention.
Yeah, it's just I don't think you would have any reason for people to be following Jesus in particular. I mean, he's not saying anything that's completely unlike what anyone else is saying. So why? I mean, so if he got crucified, I mean, you know, it's not somebody you want to follow, probably.
Well, that's my Clark Kent analogy. Like, would you get Christianity out of a guy that was just a faith healer? Like, is Oral Roberts likely to give rise to a religion? I hope not.
No, maybe not. But there are, as you know, I mean, there are people who do give rise to religion who are not, to the rest of us, are not particularly interesting people. So, yeah.
That's all.